All right, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you for those of us who are tuning in our community. I'm Kelly Zimmerman, Superintendent of Schools. Tonight we are holding a public hearing on the topic of our code of conduct. Specifically, the district has been approached by a group of students who are interested in changing the language in our code of conduct as it pertains to backpack use in our schools. Step one was to give a presentation to our Board of Education. At our meeting in May, a group of students, this group right here, they'll introduce themselves in a minute, came and presented to the board on this proposal. The next step before you can make a change to code of conduct is to conduct a public hearing. So this is an opportunity for them to present their proposal again publicly to our community with an opportunity for questions and answers from any community members who have joined us tonight. Following that, the next step will be to enact this change to our code of conduct, and then it becomes official and regulatory. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it right over to some of our greatest student leaders at Delaware Academy with their proposal for us this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Zimmerman. Hello, I'm Tommy Gordon, and thank you for joining us this evening. The purpose of this hearing is to propose a change to the student code of conduct for the middle and high school students here at DA. Please hold any questions you may have until I've finished presenting, and we'll be glad to answer them.
I'm Sylvia Lowe. I'm going to read the district vision, our idea of the district vision. At DA, there is a tremendous ethos of forward thinking. Our district not only wants to achieve academic and civic excellence, we want to lead in that excellence, preparing students to excel in a diverse and dynamic society. We want to be able to adapt and embrace change confidently, both for our peers and for ourselves. We want our friends and underclassmen to have the necessary resources to engage in learning seamlessly, so that our alma mater will be a great place to learn for a great many years to come. And when it comes to improving student performance and outcomes, we believe that one resource, a humble backpack, will go a long way towards streamlining and strengthening student workflow. We just need a minor policy change to unlock its potential.
Hi, I'm Abigail Leahy, and this is our proposal. So the current language in the code of conduct regarding backpacks is that all backpack and book bags except for district-issued Chromebooks and iPads must remain in lockers for the duration of the school day. But our proposed revision is that all backpacks and book bags will be treated as an extension of students' lockers while on school grounds and may be subject to checks based on reasonable cause by administrative staff or their designees. Students may choose to carry a backpack between classes, provided that one, in classrooms, backpacks will be stowed in teacher-designated areas, which will not interfere with clear pathways for fire egress, and two, backpacks will not be left in corridors or common areas outside the classroom. This language from the student code of conduct clearly forbids students from carrying backpacks to and from classes during the school day. However, the prevailing student perspective on this rule is that it is unjustified for a number of reasons. Accordingly, we propose a revision to the rule that would lend students flexibility without squashing administrative authority. This proposal has already gone by the district's legal counsel, and this is the language they urged of us. The language of our proposal would treat backpacks as an extension of students' lockers, meaning that the backpack serviced by administration would be justified by the same informed consent which justifies running locker service under the current policy.
So the driving force behind this proposal is the realization that many students made based off of the tumultuous years of the pandemic. When the use of lockers was suspended and the backpacks became a necessity, not only to carry book bags allow students to come to classes prepared with the basics, but it meant they could also come prepared with many convenient incidental items that they wouldn't otherwise have thought to carry with them. We adapted, and that adaptation proved so useful that many students feel it should be adopted as regular practice. So, of course, we would be remiss not to consider some concerns facing a policy change, which is why the student interest group works closely with Mrs. Zimmerman and Ms. Trask to weigh the pros and cons while developing the proposed revision.
So one of the first concerns that we considered against the proposal was, of course, the issues of drugs in school. Obviously, backpacks can be used to move drugs around among teens, but banning backpacks would not decrease demand or address drug addiction. The unfortunate reality is that those who do use drugs easily circumvent the rule by carrying vapes or weed on their person or in their water bottles or computer cases. Meanwhile, everyone is penalized by an ineffectual blanket measure. Ultimately, the current policy emphasizes taking the symptom but not the disease. Teachers and students alike are already aware of situations involving drug use, both overt and clandestine, which enforcement of the policy cannot prevent. We've heard of past instances of use of marijuana at school dances, use of alcohol from water bottles, and vaping in locker rooms or bathrooms. Another issue that we considered was the concern of fire egress. However, in the case of the pandemic, this was never really a concern for students preparing backpacks for 2 years. We do fire drills so that in the case of a real fire emergency, it's not madness or chaos. We're organized and in controlled manner we all exit the building. And also, placing backpacks under, there are also easy solutions to having backpacks in classes, such as placing them under tables or chairs, or putting them in a designated area if that's what you present. In fact, under the current policy, there's an issue with fire egress, because backpacks are being left in hallways and corridors, which is actually a breach of New York State Fire Code. So, one of the objectives of the revision would actually be to address and help prevent issues with fire egress.
Now for the main concern that started this policy in the first place, school safety. Obviously, the United States has a gross problem with gun violence at schools, but the question we're bringing today is whether backpacks are the issue. Before 1999, there weren't widespread rules against carrying a backpack, but with the Columbine shooting, many schools saw fit to implement one. However, data from the past few decades does not support the efficacy of these measures, as you'll see in a minute. Moreover, the measures do not actually address the underlying issues like mental wellness or access to firearms that are connected to school violence. Research by the Secret Service and Department of Education has shown that most attacks on schools are premeditated, which means that disallowing backpacks for everyone does not make anyone truly safer. So this first graph on the left depicts the type of firearms involved in school shootings since 1982. Over half of these were handguns, which can be concealed even without a backpack. What this means is that in simplest terms, we are holding students to a role that will logically not stop a shooter. Opposite is a graph showing the number of shootings per decade starting from the 1970s to 1979. As you can see, the trend of school violence has continued upward regardless of the implementation of the backpack policy in 1999. On another note, the current policy essentially holds the students at fault for violence in schools by disallowing backpacks, and that makes the targets and victims of school shootings are not culpable for that violence. It falls on law enforcement and legislators, the people we employ to protect us, to address the issue of gun violence in our country, not on students.
Meanwhile, there are many advantages to devising. There are students who prefer their day to be backpack-free, and therefore they make great use of lockers still. But with a revision like this, we'll be giving students a lot more flexibility. It allows for a more favorable routine unique to each student group. It allows students to adapt to their school life in a way that best suits their needs as well. And throughout the years, supplies change, but demand for supplies for different classes changes. But allowing this policy change would enable students to decide their own comfort at school. And most importantly, it would enable students to approach school in their own way. So that would connect with district values of preparing students for complex and diverse and dynamic world after high school. That's enabling them and putting the agency in students' hands. And ultimately, it would improve the student administrative support. Because right now, enforcement is lagging for our wonderful principal, Ms. Ross, and students are still carrying backpacks even though the code of conduct is not in class yet.
What this proposal boils down to is really at the core of the district vision, preparing students to excel in their lives beyond high school. If students aren't entrusted to carry their own books around and keep track of their own materials, how can we honestly say that it prepares them for college and their later lives, where they'll need to keep track of not only their classes and education, but their dorms, their loan payments, and their homes. The data does not support the advocacy of the current policy, so it's time to adapt, streamlining both student workflows and administrative duties. This revision ultimately represents a welcome boost to the quality of life for our students and admin alike. That's all we have.
Are there any questions from the audience? And from any viewers at home?
Do you remember some of the questions that were brought up at the board meeting last time?
Certainly. So one of the concerns that was brought up at the board meeting last month was that backpacks could be too heavy for students and it could start causing back pain and back damage. But that's not really a realistic concern. For starters, allowing this revision doesn't mean carrying a 40-pound backpack every day. It means having the flexibility to take what books you need to the classes you need.
Additionally, the core back muscles are some of the strongest muscle groups in the body, and it would make it easier for some students to carry the majority of their textbooks and binders in their backpack instead of in their arms, where it actually damage their wrists. So that's another addition to that question.
Another question was how we would handle in the event of emergencies. We suggested that we leave backpacks on the back of chairs or in a designated area of the classroom. And we also believe that our students are responsible enough to take care of their own stuff and make sure that it's not in anybody's way in case of an emergency.
Yeah, also many of the rooms here in the school have tables instead of just desks. So backpacks can very easily be stored on tables. And in the rooms that don't, they can very easily be put between desks or at the front of the room, away from the door. It's a very manageable issue, manageable concern. And we're excellent partners.
One other important point is that we did consult our teachers and staff on this proposal, so they did have inputs into this. They are supportive, given that they also have can collaborate with our students in determining the safest space in their classroom, because our classrooms are all designed a little differently to address the concerns that our students outlined. So in conclusion, I could not be more proud of our students stepping up to take leadership of this and ownership of this entire process. This is the first time, to my knowledge, that we've had students actually run a public hearing and take questions from an audience in this way and be really part of this exercise in civics in making real change. Although these are 3 of our seniors this year, so they will not be here to enjoy the fruits of their labor once this is instituted. As I think it was so mentioned, they're also motivated to leave their legacy on Delaware Academy and to continue to make our district a better place than they found it in as a result of the experiences that they've had here, which I think is very commendable. So again, thank you for your hard work on this, thank you for your collaboration, thank you for your professionalism, really well done. Next step is that this will return with a proposed language to a Board of Education agenda for a Board of Education to again move formally on this. And then that will take place for our students' return in the fall. So thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. Thank you again to our students, really great job. Thank you to our community members who did, and Board of Education members who joined us in person this evening. Have a great night.